What's next for the seed sector, and who's shaping it? The Euroseeds Congress brings together the people, ideas, and innovations driving real change. SeedWorld's president, Shawn Brook, caught up with Garlich von Essen, Secretary General and CEO of Euroseeds, to preview what's coming at Euroseeds 2026 and why it matters so much.
Mr. von Essen, thank you for sitting down with me today.
Mr. Brook, nice to meet you again.
It is a pleasure to sit down with you again, Garlich, and I think we get to once again talk about the Congress. And each year that Congress, it tends to capture the biggest shifts, the happenings across the sector. And when you look back at the landscape today, when we think policy, technology, market expectations, what feels fundamentally different this year than perhaps even just a couple of years ago?
Every year we think we've seen the major shifts already. And then a new year starts and new, almost tectonic shifts happen. So like now, for example, with everything that's going on now in the Middle East, having impact, also starting to have impact on very practical things, energy prices, that has an influence on fertilizer prices, that has an influence on competitive situation of farming across the globe, actually. So disruptions of delivery and so forth. The seed sector, as any other, we need to deal with it and find our way around and see. And I think that is maybe bringing us back a bit to the Congress. I think that's the interesting element for such a Congress. You bring everybody together in one spot and you have that opportunity to discuss these things and learn from each other and find a proper way forward.
Different perspectives can create some amazing collaboration.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And really suddenly new doors open. Some doors get slammed shut, but some new doors open. So there's always a little bit of light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
Agreed. One of the things that a word that keeps resonating in virtually every conversation I have these days is innovation, and many companies are say that like innovation in seeds, it's accelerating quickly, but is the system around it, right? Regulation, the markets, partnerships, they don't always move at the same pace.
No.
How does Euroseeds Congress specifically help the sector with those worlds to bring them closer together?
You were talking innovation, so think about indeed plant-breeding innovation, also known as novel genomic techniques, where finally in Europe we're getting close to the finishing line with our own new legislation on that. So you see there's a movement of regulatory frameworks starting to catch up a little bit with the technological development. In the meantime, specifically in this area of gene editing, technology has again made some leaps. And I think it's fair to say that generally speaking, indeed, regulatory decisions, political debates necessary to pass those have trouble keeping up with the pace of technological development. That's the one area. The other one is, I think, showcasing what is happening and making people aware. That brings us a bit to InnovAction stage. So our attempt to really showcase what is happening in and around the seed industry in technology development. And with that, just also, let's say, opening the eyes a little bit of the participants of the Congress of what's coming up next and what does that mean for the individual company and its business environment and opportunities.
Yeah, you mentioned the InnovAction stage, and I think that has turned out to be maybe even bigger and better than you thought it would be when you first came up with the idea, Garlich. The feedback has been very strong, very positive, and I think everyone is trying to figure out how to build innovation. And then when I think about it specifically with the seed sector, which is obviously a unique component of agriculture, how do you see the InnovAction stage being able to really hone in on that seed-specific component?
Just to take the example of what we're focusing on this year, we're looking specifically at seed treatment technologies. And in the good old days, what that would mean was to look at the next active ingredient turned into a plant protection product, turned into a seed treatment application. And what we've seen over the years is that the spectrum that is happened, or that we see being developed of kind of products has dramatically widened. No? So we're now talking specifically biologicals to also address some environmental and sustainability concerns. We're addressing colorants, nutrients. So a lot of other elements in that area of seed treatment that probably we wouldn't have thought of in the first place 15 or 20 years ago. The other part of this year's challenge, which is around, let's say, traceability, identity preservations, fighting fraud, there is a lot of things that you wouldn't come up in the first place when thinking seed innovation, then you probably think about a breeding technology. But there are many other areas that are relevant to bring improved seed of improved varieties to the market today.
Right. And so if there's someone sitting in their office right now listening to us talk, and they're wondering, is my idea big enough? Is it mature enough to present at this event? What advice would you give them, Garlich?
You wouldn't know if you haven't tried. So I think there's actually not much of a risk in it. No? So you do apply, you put your idea in a factually short paper, actually. So if you look at our application forms on our website, you will see it's not rocket science. Yes, you probably would want something that is at least at a level of maturity that it is presentable. So not blue sky research. Even if you are not part of the club that will go for presentation at our Congress, you might still want to come and have a look, see what they have done, what made them stand out and be selected this year, so that you might think about that for the next. So I think in any case, it could be an interesting experience and exercise, and may help you shape also your business proposition, actually, as you move forward, even if you're not presenting yourself.
At worst, an unbelievable learning opportunity. At best, recognition that could break open the idea globally.
It has really helped these people to get the recognition that they otherwise would have found difficult to find. People will know about you and will start talking about you. And that is, I think, the biggest achievement that you can get out of it.
Garlich, and one final question. If we just come back to talking about the Congress, the multi-day event that you're going to have in Valencia coming up in October, if someone hasn't been to this event before, what's that one moment or maybe the experience that really captures what the Euroseeds Congress is all about?
Coming together, seeing old friends, rekindling relationships, etc. So the personal element, which is not to be underestimated also in a business environment. It is with that also getting to know new people from new companies. As I said, there are new kids on the block. So widening your network and understanding where are new opportunities, maybe new markets opening up, etc. It's the trade element. It's the real sheer business element where people sit down, talk about proposals, and clinch deals in the end. So agree on something that they will do together, from research to seed production, marketing, you name it. It is, of course, InnovAction. So you see the latest, what's happening out there. So things that you might not necessarily find in a regular, let's say, Seed Congress elsewhere. And last but not least, because that is a new element that we started to work on last year and that we bring back this year as well, is this next generation forum where we try to connect the business community with the next generation of potential plant breeders or people involved in the seed sector. So I think it's this multifaceted Congress experience, all packed together, fairly condensed in just 3 days and one night. So you get a lot of different things in a fairly short period of time.
It sure is. It sure is. And I look forward to seeing you in Valencia, sir.
So do I, Shawn.